Alright, so we're looking at solving equations here. Now, before we start, we've got to know a couple of things to remind ourselves. So the opposite to plus is subtract. The opposite to times is divide. Now remember, divide simply just means a fraction, or vice versa. A fraction just means divide. Now the opposite to squaring is square rooting, and the opposite to cubing is cube rooting. Okay, so let's look at an example here. A plus 1.2 is equal to 2.4. Now the object here is to get A by itself, or the variable by itself. Now we're adding 1.2, so let's do the opposite. We subtract 1.2. Now what we do to one side, we've got to balance it by doing it to the other side. So we subtract 1.2 to the right hand side there. There we get A equals 2.4, take 1.2, and we get our answer of A being equaling to 1.2. Alright, so we can check this by using our skills of substitution. Let's substitute 1.2 where our A value is. Now we're going to get 1.2 plus 1.2 is equal to 2.4. Now our left hand side there is equal to our right hand side, therefore we know our variable there equaling 1.2 is correct. Okay, let's look at another example. Here we have is 3.6 plus y is equal to 4.1. Okay, so we've got 3.6 there. We need to remove that 3.6 to get y by itself. Now 3.6 is positive 3.6, so we've got to do the opposite. We've got to subtract 3.6. Now what we do to one side, we do to the other to balance it. So now we're going to get is positive y is equal to 4.1. Subtract away 3.6, and there we get y is equal to 0.5. So we can check this by substituting y equals 0.5 back into our equation. We get 3.6 plus 0.5 equals 4.1. Now the left hand side equals the right hand side, therefore we know that we are correct. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to look at multiplication. Now again, reminding ourselves the opposite to multiplication is division. Okay, so let's look at an example here. 2x is equal to 7. Now, we know that 2 times 3.5 is equal to 7. However, let's look at the working out. We want to get the value in front of our x, that 2, to become 1. So we divide by 2. We do the opposite to multiply, we divide. Now 2 divided by 2 gives us 1. And there we have 1x. Now what we do to one side, we do to the other side to balance it. So 1x is equal to 3.5. And again, we can check this by substituting it back into our equation. So we put 3.5 where the x is, and we get the left hand side equaling the right hand side, and it's correct. Alright, we'll look at another example here. So let's look at 3a. Now remember, 3a means 3 times a. It's equal to 15. So how do we get rid of that 3 to become a 1? We divide by 3. What we do to one side, we do to the other. We get a is equal to 5. Now again, we can check this. Now 3 times 5 equals 15, so the left hand side will equal the right hand side, so we are correct here. Alright, let's look at division, or what we call fractions in algebra. So, with division, we need to be good with fractions. So let's look at a divided by 3 is equal to 2. Now we're dividing by 3, so again, what's the opposite to divide by 3? That's right, it's multiply. So if we multiplied both sides by 3, we'd get times 3 on top there. That means 3 divided by 3 becomes 1, and there we have our 1a. And what we do to one side, we do to the other, we get 6. Now we can check. Now is 6 divided by 3, does that equal 2? Yes. 2 equals 2, therefore we're correct. Alright, let's look at another example here. Let's take y divided by 2.2 is equal to 10. We times by 2.2, times the other side by 2.2 to balance it. 2.2 over 2.2 is 1, or 1y, and y is equal to 22. Again, we can check to see if our answer is correct. So, is 22 divided by 2.2 equal to 10? Yes, so therefore we're correct. Alright, let's look at another example. E divided by negative 4 is equal to negative 5. So again, it's negative. We got to multiply by negative 4 times the other side by negative 4. Negative divided by negative is positive. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And we get negative times a negative is positive 20. We can check. We get the left hand side of negative 5 equal to the right hand side, so we're correct. Alright, let's look at some of the equations that do get harder. So two-step equations. So we're looking at doing 2 steps here. We have 2 terms here, 2a, and we have 1. So let's leave the 2a by itself. Alright, and let's get rid of this plus 1 first. So we relieve that term because that's got our a. So we subtract away 1 from both sides. We get 2a is equal to 11. Now 2 times a, we divide by 2 from both sides. We get a is equal to 5.5. And again, we can check to see if this is correct. Let's substitute it back in. 2 times 5.5 plus 1 equals 12. The left-hand side becomes 12. It equals the right-hand side. We're correct. Okay, let's look at another example. 1.5y minus 4 is equal to negative 2. Alright, there's our term that has a y. So let's remove the minus 4 first. We do the opposite, we add. We're given 1.5y equals 2. We divide by 1.5 from both sides. We balance that up. 1.5 over 1.5 is 1, or 1y. And that is going to be equal to 1.3 recurring, or 1 1/3. So again, we can use our calculator there to help us. Otherwise, we can use our mental maths ability. Let's look at another example. 3b minus 6 is equal to negative 5. So we leave our 3b. We remove our minus 6, so we add 6 to both sides. We get 3b is equal to 1. We divide both sides by 3 to get b is equal to 1/3, or 0.3 recurring. Again, we can check this if we want to make sure that our answer is correct. Alright, let's look at another example. Negative 5 plus 3a is equal to 10. So again, there's our variable. Let's leave that and get rid of this minus 5 by adding 5. We must do it to the other side. We get 3a is equal to 15. Divide both sides by 3. And we get a by itself equaling to 5. Again, we can check to see if this is correct by substituting it in. Alright, let's look at some harder questions for solving. Okay, here we go. We've got a plus 5, all divided by 2, is equal to 10. Now we've got, using BIMDAS, we've got a plus 5 on top, so we've got to get rid of that divide by 2 first by multiplying by 2. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. Now the 2 disappears, leaving me with a plus 5 is equal to 20. I subtract 5 from both sides, leaving a is equal to 15. Again, we can check this by substituting in to see if we got it correct. Here's another example. 3a plus 5 minus a is equal to 8. So we've got to collect the terms first. 3a take a is 2a. We got the plus 5 is equal to 8. Now remove the plus 5. And we get 2a is equal to 3. And then we divide both sides by 2. And we get a is equal to 1.5. There we have it. Alright, let's look at our final example here. 3 bracket a plus 6 is equal to 9. So again, we've got one thing multiplied by another thing. So we could actually do a division here. Divide both sides by 3 to remove our 3 on the outside. And we have a plus 6 is equal to 3. Now all we have to do is subtract away 6 from both sides. We get a is equal to negative 3. Now we could have expanded that bracket out if we wanted to, so let's go back up here and let's see what happens if we expand it out. We get 3a plus 18 equals 9. We take 18 from both sides. We get 3a is equal to negative 9. We divide both sides by 3 and we get a is equal to negative 3. So it still works out the same.